Hi, this is Evie Schweig, and I am here today with Mary Ellen Zung, Certified Holistic Health Coach. Mary Ellen started her health coaching practice in 2013 after working for most of her career in human resources for a large service company, and then in sales, client services, and operations in the corporate childcare industry. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology and trained with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition to become a certified health coach. She is a member of the American Association of Drugless Practitioners and the International Association of Health Coaches and the Natural Life Business Partnership. This is the second part of my interview with Mary Ellen. You can see the first part of the interview on YouTube, where Mary Ellen explains what a health coach is and does. Today, we're going to be talking about what it's like to work with Mary Ellen, her typical client, and how you can work with her. So welcome, Mary Ellen.
Thank you, Evie, for having me. It's great to be with you again.
Yes, same here. So Mary Ellen, before we get into what it's like to work with you, can you first tell us a little bit about how you became interested in this field, maybe what inspired you to become a health coach, and how did you get started?
Oh, great. So sure, I think my entire life experience led me to this place, right? Isn't that the way with all of us? But series of choices. It's great. So I wanted to help people get rid of pain and feel great and live healthier and happier through lifestyle choices. You know, my first job at 17 was in a pretty upscale restaurant kitchen, which was so much fun. So I saw how, whole food, delicious, from scratch cooking was done. And I continued to work in restaurants through high school and college, and even after I graduated from college. So I always loved being around food. Also growing up, my mom wanted to lose weight and went to Weight Watchers. And I thought I was heavier than most girls my age. And I wanted to lose weight too. Right? Yeah, that thought. And that started my consistent dieting from high school through my 40s. And I now know that the dieting and processed food, that processed diet food, low calorie food, fake sugar, really played havoc with not only my body, but my mind too, the way I thought about myself. I didn't play sports like young girls do now. And so regular physical activity wasn't part of my daily routine either. Then after getting married and having my son 20 years ago, I was commuting 3 hours a day for the first 5 years of his life. And I finally quit because that stress. And I started working for none other than Weight Watchers 14 years ago. Okay. And I really enjoyed the group coaching and helping people. But after a while, I knew there was more that I needed to learn. It wasn't just about dieting and exercise. So 6 years ago, I attended the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and became a certified health coach. And through that process, I learned a great deal about my relationship with food. And I healed my joint pain and gut issues. And I learned how to eat intuitively. So all of that sort of converged into my becoming a health coach.
Here you are today. How awesome.
Yes, all brought me here today.
Oh, that's great. You had really had a personal journey, didn't you?
Yeah, that's for sure.
And I'm sure that you can relate well then to your clients that you serve, right?
Yes, that's true. I think I attract those clients who have similar situations with diet and stress and work-life balance. They don't call it that anymore because balance is a whole fallacy, right? But it's another topic.
Another story. Another
time.
So that's very interesting. So when you're working with a client, do you work with them one-on-one? How does that work?
Okay. Yeah, I work with one-on-one individuals, and I also work with groups with my online cleanse programs. As well as on-site group workshops for employers and also in the community. And I also run a diabetes prevention group program. So groups in addition to, one-on-one clients.
I see. So, when you're working, do you find that you have what you might describe as your typical client? Are you able to tell us something about that?
Yeah. My typical client is female, but I do work with men, of course, too. Um, she's generally, in her 30s, probably after 35 through 70s.
Mhm.
She's not feeling as great as she did in her 20s with energy. She's gained some weight and is struggling to lose weight. And she has a lot to manage with job, family, taking care of everyone else. So she's not always her own top priority. And she wants to have more energy and less worry and lose weight and be happier.
It sounds like many of us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
And what, when you're with your clients, what do you see the biggest challenge that they're facing?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is their thoughts, their mindset, the mindset change about taking care of themselves and what that means. So many of us women feel guilty for taking time for self-care, and I try to encourage them and support them in doing this.
Sounds wonderful. It's wonderful work to do. Um, what do you like about what you do, or is there something that you find challenging?
There's so many things that I like. I love seeing people learn something new, like when that light bulb goes off, getting clarity on something that they've heard or discovering something about themselves that maybe was, subconsciously there.
Mhm.
Um, and it's great. I love helping clients acknowledge how far they've come too. So it's important to their continued success to recognize their success along the way. But it's also very satisfying for me too.
Mhm.
So, and you asked about challenging. Challenging for me is to see someone who wants something different, but is, not working on the program and following up with the action plan. And sometimes it takes a lot of time. So I understand it, and I just tell myself to be patient, and, I think about them, and, really try to reflect on, how I can next hold space with them the next session to help them break through any blockages. So that's challenging, but when it happens, then it becomes satisfying. So.
Mm, interesting. So, you mentioned with your history that you are very familiar with dieting. There's so many diets out there today. Uh, do you recommend one to your clients, and maybe why or why not?
Yeah, no, I believe in bioindividuality, that idea that each of us has unique food and lifestyle needs. I'm not going to tell somebody what they should or shouldn't eat. I'll just try to educate them. So I don't hand them a diet or tell them, what to eat. I just help them discover their own relationship with food and, the benefits of certain foods versus other foods. And, um, like sugar, that's like a no-brainer. Let's
Mhm.
start with that. Um,
Right.
it's funny. Sometimes I'll start working with someone and they'll say, "Don't take away my bread," or "You're not going to get me to eat kale." And I appreciate that information because it gives me a place to start the education process. I'm not going to start with the bread. I'll start somewhere else,
Well, it
or
sounds
I'll
like
educate them about the bread and what they could have instead of bread. That might be
uh,
just as satisfying. Um,
sure, gives
yeah.
them a substitute, something
Yeah.
in place of. It's
Sure.
it sounds like good advice.
Well,
So yeah, I mean, so speaking of advice, have you ever gotten a piece of advice that regarding, say, health and wellness that you'd like to share with us?
I think the thing that worked for me during my journey was, listen to your body, listen to your own hunger and satisfaction, listen to your cravings. What is it saying to you? If it's not physical hunger, then, you need to pause and ask yourself, what is happening emotionally? What is happening in your life? Also, um, eat real food. real whole
Mhm.
food, preferably in season and local, organic when necessary, and eat mindfully and not too much.
Sounds
That's
like
my
great
thought.
advice.
Yeah.
I love it. So now that we know a little bit more about you, how can people get in touch with you to work with you?
Oh, sure. Well, let's see. I have a website, www.maryellenzung.com. And my email address is coachmaryellen@outlook.com. I have an Instagram account. Just look up Health Coach Mary Ellen. And I'm on Pinterest at Mary Ellen Zung. And let's see, what else? All that social
That's
media.
that's a
Yeah.
lot. That's great.
Facebook.
It
Yeah.
keeps you out there, right?
Yeah. Health Coach Mary Ellen is on Facebook. I also have a newsletter. So if people wanted to get on my newsletter, they can just ask for that on my website or send me an email.
That's a great way to
Yeah.
get some of that great information you've been giving
Yeah.
us. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being with us today and answering our questions.
Thank you for having me, Evie.